So now we've got chapter 5, and we've got Juniper here. Each evening now, as soon as Abigail had done her homework, Polly had to do hers. So good a natural mimic was the bird that it seemed as though she learned something new every day. At first, Abigail taught her simple things like good morning, or good afternoon, or goodbye. Then she added a number of useful sayings, such as how do you do, and mind how you go. Also, because Polly heard the children calling to one another or to their parents, it was no surprise to anyone to hear her shout Abigail, or Prue, or Bob, or Mum, or Dad. In addition, because of her great gift for imitation, she soon became expert at mooing like a cow, grunting like a pig, or bleating like a sheep, and she could even match the cock-a-doodle-doo of her father, the big brown rooster. Once Polly had mastered simple remarks, Abigail proceeded to whole sentences, and even succeeded in teaching the bird a tongue twister, so that her father was flabbergasted to be told one day by Polly that Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Nor was he the only member of the family to get a shock, for Moss, the collie dog, came running to the sound of his name, only to find that it was Polly who had summoned him. "Walk to heel," said the pullet sharply, and he dutifully followed her across the yard, looking rather awkward. You can see there. There were, however, limits to the pullet's power. Though she seemed to retain everything that she had been taught, there was no kind of logic in her conversation. In reply to a greeting like, good morning, she no longer merely repeated those words, but was quite likely to say, clever girl, or mum, or moo, and asking her something such as, how are you, might be answered with a goodbye. Only one question ever received a correct answer, and that was, what's your name? Somehow that lesson had stuck, and the reply was always, pretty Polly. But try as she would, Abigail did not succeed in training her pet in any other form of sensible exchange. So far, no one outside the family knew of Polly's gift. It had been generally agreed that it must be kept secret. Why? Said Bob. We don't want strangers to know, said Abigail. Why? They might try to steal her. Why? Because she's very valuable, Bob, his father said. The only talking hen in the world. Just think of that. Bob thought about it. How many hens are there in the world? He asked. Millions, they all said. Millions and millions. Perhaps one of them can talk, said Bob. Don't be such a silly little boy, said Prudence. Bob went very red, a sure sign he was about to lose his temper. When this happened, he always used the same words to show the full extent of his anger, and he used them now. Beast, cow, cat, he shouted, and ran from the room. That wasn't very nice, Prue, said her mother. You're forever calling Bob a silly little boy. That makes you an unkind little girl. Prudence went very pale, a sure sign that she was upset. You can go and say you're sorry, her mother added, and she followed to make sure that Prudence did. It's going to move you quickly, anyway. There couldn't be another talking hen though, Dad, could there? Said Abigail. No, of course not, said her father, and that's why you've got to take very special care of that Polly of yours. She shouldn't be running about the farmyard with the other hens. Anything could happen to her. She ought to be kept shut up somewhere absolutely safe. But Dad, she loves going around with me. She follows me like a dog. You know that. Well, that's all right. She can still do that. So long as you're with her, she's safe. But it's when you're at school, for instance, or other times in the day when you might not be around. There's no problem at night. She's shut up with the rest of the flock. Abigail did not reply because this was, in fact, not true. Hatched in the stable, Polly and her brothers and sisters had grown up used to sleeping there. And though their mother, the old speckled hen, eventually returned to the hen house at nights, they did not. Instead, once their wings were fully feathered, they fluttered up to roost on top of the hay racks, or ranges, or on the high wooden partitions that separated one stall from another. Abigail knew this. Her father did not. So far, she hadn't worried about it. Now she did. I suppose they're really not safe there, she thought. I must shut the stable doors at night. But when she came to do that evening, she found that she couldn't. For many years, no horse had stood and stamped upon the stable's cobbled floor, and the heavy double doors had been left open, sagging with age upon their rusted hinges. Now, Abigail could not shift them. She thought of catching Pretty Polly to put her somewhere safe, but when she tried to persuade her to come down from the perch, Polly only answered, Abby, 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 in a sleepy mutter, and would not move. At that moment, Abigail's mother called to her to come in. I'll do something about it tomorrow, she thought. But the next day, something happened that put the problem right out of her head. A salesman arrived at the farm by chance at a time when there was no one about. The farmer had gone to market, his wife was out shopping, the girls were at school, and Bob was at his playgroup. The salesman walked around the yard and buildings, calling, Hello? Anybody around? But there was no one to answer him. Even Moth had gone with his master. The salesman, who sold, among other things, chicken food, addressed himself to a large flock of hens that pecked and scratched and clucked around his feet. "Nobody at home, eh?" he said. The hens, of course, took no notice, except for one, a handsome bird with black and silver barred plumage, who stood directly before him and looked up. The salesman looked back at her. "Picked a bad day, did I?" he said. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers," said the hen. Nearly got it.